Good morning, student. My name is Miss Manisha Borkar, Department of Fishery Science, NES Science College, Nanded. Now, today's we will going to start the B.sc second year, semester third, the theory paper sixth. The name of paper is Fish Disease Management. Theory paper sixth. The name of paper is Fish Disease Management. Now, today's we will going to start the unit number 4th, environmental induced diseases of a fish. Okay, in a previous lecture we will studied the gas bubble disease as well as the oxygen deficiency. Now today's we will start the thermal trace and trace due to the pH variations. Now firstly, what is meant by the environmental induced disease of a fish? Environmental diseases, the majority of a fish health problems are related to the environmental stress, such as the effect of a handling or a poor water quality where an infectious disease is involved. This is the end result of interaction between the pathogenic organism, a susceptible fish host, and environmental stress. Most prevalent diseases of environmental condition of fish are, as we know, that the environmental hypoxia, gas bubble disease, then the ammonia poisoning, nitrate poisoning, then the temperature stress, and stress due to the stress due to variations in a pH values. Now seen here, the temperature trace we call as the thermal trace. In that, fish are a pyokelothermic aquatic vertebrates, therefore water temperature greatly affects their metabolism and the immunity. Decrease in water temperature suppresses the fish immune response. Most of pond fish diseases occur in the spring and follow when the temperature fluctuation is greatest. Okay, as we know that the temperature which affects the aquatic organisms, then in aquatic vertebrates, so the temperature having the most important role in the aquatic organism. Most of pond fish diseases occur in the spring and the fall when the temperature fluctuation is greatest. Temperature tolerance depends on many factors. Okay, these are the factors which depends many tolerances. The temperature to which the fish has been acclimated, then salinity, life stage, reproductive status, the speed of temperature change. Now, temperate fish species often tolerate a wide temperature range than tropical fishes or the cold water species. Most fish tolerate a rapid drop in a temperature better than an equivalent rise in a temperature. Now, this is due to the physiological changes that occur with increasing temperature as the metabolic rate and thus oxygen consumption increases. Okay, this in temperate fish species, they having important role. Temperature are a important role in the fish species. As a temperate fish species, as we know that the cold water species also be these fish cold water fish species also culture in the freshwater fish culture. Then these cold water temperature, they also affects the temperature in that the water temperature. Now the biologic activity doubles for the each 10 degrees Celsius rise in a temperature. The toxicity of ammonia increases as the temperature rises, and the amount of dissolved oxygen that the water can hold decreases, lead the hypoxia. As we know that in water the fish are having the dissolved form of oxygen in the water form, and in that water they lead the hyperoxygen, okay, due to the rise in temperature. Fish that are normally exposed to wide temperature fluctuation are more tolerant to rapid temperature change than fish that are kept under more stable conditions. Thermostatically controlled temperature in aquarium, there is no exact recommendations for allowable temperature change because it varies with a species environment and prior acclimation conditions. For the example, fish acclimated to a higher temperature often can withstand hyperthermia better than the same species maintained at the lower temperature. Also, fish sensitivity to change in a water temperature varies throughout its life cycle. Fish are most sensitive to the water temperature changes during the spawning and larval development. As we know that in the spawning stage, the temperature having the most important role at the time of spawning and the larval development. So the fish are most sensitive to the water temperature. Water temperature should not be changed more than about 1 degree Celsius per hour. Sudden stop of the heater in a winter is followed by rapid drop in a temperature 10 degrees Celsius in a one day in might cause many fish to die immediately. Okay, if the temperature is not stable, the fishes are die immediately. The most common cause of hypothermia is the absence of an submersible aquarium heater, and if a heater is present, its power must be evaluated and it should be checked to make sure it is working properly. Aquaria placed close to drafty areas, even when properly heated, many still expressing hypothermia. Temperature ideal range is 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. Acceptable range is 2 degrees Celsius to the 30 degrees Celsius. Direct sunlight during the day can cause the temperature to rise higher, and heat loss on a clear nights can cause the temperature to drop lower than shaded ponds. A clear night sky can absorb a large amount of heat from a small pond and actually drive the pond temperature below the air temperature. Now the diagnosis of this temperature trace case history. In that hypothermia, temperature at or near the lower lethal limit, shutdown of the heater, thermometer not working properly to small heater aquarium exposed to air draft, leathery and the water mold infection. Hyperthermia is a temperature near the upper lethal limit aquarium exposed to heat source to large heater improperly working their most thermostat and dyspnea. Now the clinical signs. The first evidence of a hypothermia in a fish is a loss in a color followed by rapid breathing, gill movement. Then additionally erratic swimming may occur. The effects of hypothermia can lead to hypoxia, which basically means that the fish is starving for oxygen. While it is true that cold water holds more oxygen by its nature, because the fish metabolism is so slow, it cannot adequately take up oxygen and suffers from the low oxygen. Okay, these are clinical signs in that hypothermia, which is caused or the they having the amount of oxygen is present in the oxygen, and the fish which starving the oxygen and the causes the hypoxia. At low temperature, fish appear sluggish, depressed, and may be anorexic, not eating. Hypothermia can lead to an abnormal metabolism and dysfunction of the immune system. Mortality varies and depends on species, temperature of the water, and duration of exposure. Low pond temperature has been associated with an idiopathic syndrome known as a winter kill. Okay, this idiopathic syndrome which is takes place due to the low pond temperature, and this will be called as a, or known as a winter kill. High temperature associated with the dyspnea. Measurement of the temperature of the water by using the thermometer, as we know that. Now, treatment and prevention. Temperature control can be done in a small closed systems, but in a ponds or other culture systems with large volumes of water, temperature control is usually difficult and not economic. Temperature control is performed when either recycling most of the water or when egg incubation systems that use a very little water. Now seen what is mean by the hypothermia and hyperthermia, as the name indicates that hypo and the hyper. Hypo means that the low and hyper means that the high. In that hypothermia, use plastic sheeting to insulate ponds during cold snaps. The water temperature should be raised to at least near their normal temperature range, gradually and slowly filling plastic bags with warm water and floating them in the pond. Then hyperthermia, which reduce or stop feeding because the amount of oxygen needed for both homeostasis and digestion of food may exceed the amount of oxygen that can be extracted from the water. The lower the temperature to the physiological range of the species, a thermometer should always be present in the aquarium in order to maintain optimal temperatures. Most heaters are equipped with the thermostat in order to control and maintain environmental temperature tightly. Now, thank you.